Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. India's GDP grows at a faster than expected 8.2% in FY24. Gross value-added growth, which excludes subsidies and taxes, comes in at 7.2%. Manufacturing sector growth almost touches 10%. Fiscal deficit in FY24 springs a pleasant surprise. The deficit stands at 5.6%, which is lower than 5.8% estimated by the government in the last budget. Net tax receipts are higher than the budget estimates. Sensex and Nifty snap a 5-day losing streak, but the gains are limited as investors remain cautious ahead of the election results. Financial stocks and mid-caps perk up in trade. At least 54 people have died due to sunstroke as large parts of India sizzle under a severe heat wave. 29 people have died in Bihar in the last 24 hours, including 10 persons on election duty. Weather Department predicts rains across some parts of India over the next 2 to 3 days. The 44-day-long Lok Sabha polling season will end tomorrow. 57 constituencies across 8 states and union territories will vote in the final phase. Exit polls will be released tomorrow evening after the voting ends. The Reserve Bank transports 100 tons of its gold reserves from the UK to India. This is the first time since 1991 that the RBI has shifted a part of its overseas gold reserves to India. Around 400 tons or 50% of RBI's reserves will now be held in Indian vaults. Mahindra Group decides to fill 90% of all senior positions through internal promotions. The group's HR strategy leads to significant cost reductions and reduces attrition at senior levels from 12% to 8% in this fiscal. Donald Trump becomes the first former US president to be convicted of a crime. A 12-member jury finds Trump guilty of 34 felonies for falsifying business records to cover up hush money paid to a porn star. He will be sentenced on the 11th of July. Rape-accused JDS MP Prajwal Revana sent to police custody till June 6th. An all-women team of the Karnataka police arrested him at the Bengaluru airport. Revana is accused of serial sex abuse and had fled the country more than a month ago. And women leaders at India's IT capital, Bengaluru, speak about breaking barriers and bridging the gender gap at CNBC TV 18's Future Female Forward campaign. Well, straight to the day's market action. Now, the sensex and Nifty snapped a 5-day losing streak, the longest in the last 7 months. But the gains were limited as investors continue to tread with caution, especially coming in ahead of the election results on the 4th of June. Financial stocks led this rally with the Nifty Bank Index gaining over 300 points. Mid-caps also outperformed the blue chips with the index gaining over 0.5%. Well, but here's the top story this evening. India's growth engines are firing in all cylinders. GDP growth in FY24 crossed the 8% mark. At 8.2%, the growth rate was higher than the street's expectations. Gross value-added growth, which excludes subsidies and taxes, came in at 7.2% for the full financial year. Lata Venkatesh is joining us now with the fine print of the GDP numbers. Lata.
Oh, it was absolutely a record-shattering set of numbers that the NSO announced. The full year number coming in at 8.2. The best estimate on the street was 8%. Even the Reserve Bank was saying close to 8%. So this is a damn good number. Well, so far the complaint has been that there is a big divergence between GDP and GVA caused by remarkably low subsidies compared to year-ago levels. But a GVA of 7.2 is also a solid number. So that's the second big positive. The Q4 numbers itself, again, are better than expected. Compared to expectation of 6.7, the Q4 has come in at 7.8. I mean, that's a 1 full percentage point higher. There, however, the GVA is a little under the weather at about just 6.3%. But the full year at 7.2 GVA clearly indicates that the growth is solid and is not just a result of, some tax calculations. The other important takeaway from the numbers is that capex is very good, but consumption is still lagging. For the full year FY24, private final consumption expenditure has grown by 4%. It's better than the third quarter numbers, the full year number, but still 4% is, compared to a GDP growth of 8.2%, consumption growing only by 4% is a bit of a negative. However, capex, which has been, investment has been the flag bearer of growth, that has grown at 9%. The worry only is, will people continue to invest if consumption continues to lag or continues to be modest? That may be a minor worry. The third positive that has come from the numbers is, of course, that the fiscal deficit is lower than estimated. Now, why this becomes important is that this means that yields in the market will fall. The S&P has already said that it has put India on a positive outlook for its rating. The fact that the fiscal deficit is lower than expected means a rating upgrade could come earlier than expected. Markets always factor in the rating upgrade before the rating upgrade actually comes, which means it sets the stage for a very good FY25. All told, excellent set of numbers, record-shattering set of numbers.
Right, Lata, thanks a lot for that. Now, just as Lata was mentioning, it was not just the GDP data. The government's fiscal deficit data also sprung a pleasant surprise. Next, net tax receipts were above the government's revised estimates. Sapna Das is here with those details. Sapna.
Well, it's a complete southward journey as far as the government's fiscal data is concerned, and the bettering of the fiscal deficit, there are a couple of reasons, very clear reasons over here. The revenue receipts have done extremely well in the previous financial year. Revenue receipts, 100% of the target has been met, in fact slightly more than 100%, and both taxes as well as non-taxes have done extremely well. Particularly in taxes, income tax, personal income tax has done very well. It has clocked over 10 lakh crore worth of revenues for the government, so that needs to be washed out for. Even in terms of your disinvestment, along with the PSU dividends, more or less that aim has been met. Plus, if you look at the government's expenditure budget of the previous financial year, it was close to 45 lakh odd crores. There could be a 1% saving on that front. So that would have translated into something like 45,000 crores worth of comfort to the government. So all of this put together has given them this good number of 5.63%. Now the question arises that, after the RBI dividend has come in, there is now an expectation, and plus with this compression that has happened, that maybe they would like to reduce the fiscal deficit number further in the coming July budget. Will that happen? Well, there could be room for that, but that's something we'll have to wait and watch and see. However, expectations are running high that the government would like to, reduce the deficit number further in the budget.
Right, Sapna, thanks a lot for that. Now, at least 54 people have died so far due to severe heatwave conditions that have been prevailing over several parts of the country, especially the North. Delhi, Punjab and Rajasthan are among the states that have been enduring temperatures above 45 degrees Celsius. So much so that a Rajasthan court has even urged the centre to declare a national emergency over the ongoing heatwave. 29 people have died in Bihar alone, including 10 people who were on election duty. The Met Department anticipates some respite soon. It has said that prevailing heatwave conditions over northwest, central and east India are likely to abate in the next 2 to 3 days. Delhi may witness light rain and thunder showers. The Met Department also expects that isolated and heavy rainfall will likely continue in northeast India for the next 4 to 5 days. And as temperatures continue to soar in North India, the peak power demand in the country has hit an all-time high for the second day in a row. As of Thursday, peak demand stood at 250 gigawatts. That's beating Wednesday's record of 246 gigawatts. Northern states marked a peak power demand of 88 gigawatts, while western states recorded demand of 74.8 gigawatts. Not just that, thermal park generation in the country hit a new high of 176 gigawatts. And sweltering heat in Delhi has resulted in a water shortage in the national capital region. The Delhi government has reached out to the centre as well as the Supreme Court, seeking additional water supply from neighbouring states of Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Himachal. Meanwhile, Delhi Minister Atashi has also written to the centre, claiming that Haryana has not been releasing the required amount of water that is needed in the national capital. Earlier this week, the Delhi government also imposed a 2,000 rupee fine on wastage of water and formed 200 teams to enforce this penalty. In some corporate news now, the Mahindra Group's decision to bet on a younger, more diverse senior leadership team of insiders has managed to script a turnaround for the conglomerate. The Mahindra Group recently touched the 5 lakh crore rupee mark in terms of market capitalization, reporting the highest ever profits. The company has decided to fill almost all senior leadership positions through an internal promotion plan. Parikshit Luthra is standing by with more details. Parikshit, tell us, how is this HR plan expected to benefit the conglomerate going forward?
Anish Shah, the managing director of the Mahindra Group, has set a target of achieving 5x growth for the company. One of the ways by which the group is hoping to achieve this is by focusing on internal hiring, as this helps the company reduce costs to a great extent. The Mahindra Group has decided to fill 90% of all senior positions through internal promotions in future. The company has established talent councils for each sector within the company to drive talent management and development. Currently, the average age of the Group Executive Board is 53. 25% of members have been inducted internally and 75% members have been inducted into the Group Executive Board in the last 5 years. The company is making significant investments in grooming internal talent to rise to leadership positions within the company. Mahindra Group Managing Director Anish Shah himself was the Group President's strategy before being elevated to the post of Managing Director. Similarly, Rajesh Jejurikar was President Auto and Farm sectors for 5 years before being elevated to Executive Director. More than 80 senior-most employees have gone through Future Shapers program to groom them for future leadership positions in the company. Over 100 mid-level employees have gone through the Mahindra Accelerated Leadership Track program to prepare a bench strength of future leaders. The company has also partnered with Harvard and McKinsey for this training. Apart from Future Shapers and the Accelerated Leadership Track, the Mahindra Group has a She's on the Rise program to specifically mentor women employees for senior leadership roles in future. Mahindra Group believes this strategy has paid off and ensured diversity as well. 14 CXO roles have been filled up by women compared to just 2 or 3 earlier. Presence of women in the group corporate office has increased to 38% with a focused hiring approach. 2 new women leaders have been inducted into the Group Executive Board of the company. The company has told CNBC TV18 that internal hiring and promotions have led to significant savings. External recruitment costs and relocation expenses have been reduced. Promotion of internal talent ensures business continuity in the Mahindra Group, less operational disruptions. Attrition at senior levels came down from 12% to 8%. And female staff attrition has come down from 18% to 13% in FY24. CNBC TV18 has learned that the Mahindra Group expects significant cost reductions due to this strategy over the next 2 years.
Right, Parikshit, thanks a lot for that. In some international news now, after a 20-day operation, Israeli forces say they will pull out of a refugee camp in northern parts of Gaza. Israel claims it has destroyed several tunnels and weapon manufacturing sites. Hamas officials, meanwhile, claim that more than 1,000 homes were destroyed in the refugee camp. Meanwhile, Israeli forces continue to pound Rafah, which has seen large-scale casualties in the last week. And Donald Trump has become the first former president in America's history to be criminally convicted. A 12-member New York jury found Trump guilty on all 34 charges in a hush money scheme to influence the outcome of the 2016 presidential elections. Trump, who is also the presumptive Republican presidential nominee, has called this verdict a disgrace. The sentencing would be announced on the 11th of June. NBC's Laura Jarrett.
Former President Donald Trump found guilty, convicted by a Manhattan jury of all charges. Now the first American president ever convicted of a crime. Jurors finding Mr. Trump guilty on all 34 counts of falsifying his business records to cover up a conspiracy to influence the 2016 election by hiding how he reimbursed his former fixer for paying off a porn star before the election. The Manhattan jury of 7 men and 5 women included 2 lawyers, 2 in finance, and the foreman in sales, and reached their decision after 2 days of deliberations, after hearing from more than 20 witnesses over 6 weeks. The prosecution's case largely came down to whether jurors would believe the word of Michael Cohen, Mr. Trump's former attorney and self-described fixer. Cohen was the only witness who directly tied Mr. Trump to the alleged crime of falsifying business records. He testified Mr. Trump directed him to pay off Stormy Daniels so she couldn't derail his campaign. She'd alleged a sexual encounter years before, but Mr. Trump vehemently denied it. Prosecutors argued at trial the former president was desperate to keep her silent, panicked after the release of the Access Hollywood tape, and then covered it all up, approving a scheme to disguise the $130,000 payoff with a phony paper trail through invoices, vouchers, and checks. Cohen's credibility in this case was key, the defense team branding the now disbarred lawyer who'd been convicted of lying under oath as the MVP of liars with an axe to grind against Mr. Trump, while prosecutors argued Mr. Trump chose Mr. Cohen for the same qualities that his attorneys now urge you to reject his testimony.
This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people, and they know what happened.
Outside of court, boos and cheers. Late today, District Attorney Alvin Bragg reacting to the verdict.
We arrived at this trial and ultimately today at this verdict in the same manner as every other case that comes through the courtroom doors, by following the facts and the law.
And early results have begun to trickle in from the South African general election. The outcome is critical this time as it tests the African National Congress's governance of 30 years. With more than half the counting done, the ANC has garnered just over 42% of the votes, followed by the Democratic Alliance at over 28% and the left parties at over 20%. These trends suggest that the ruling ANC could fall short of a majority and be forced to seek a coalition partner. The final results are expected over the weekend. And China's factory activity contracted in the month of May. The manufacturing purchasing managers index dropped to 49.5 in the month of May from 50.4 in April. The contraction was largely driven by China's property crisis, which continues to weigh on the domestic demand. Experts have indicated that this drop might be a temporary one and expect an improvement in June. And back home, the Reserve Bank of India is transporting 100 tons of its gold reserves from the United Kingdom back to India. This is the first time since 1991 that the RBI has shifted a part of its overseas gold reserves back home to India. Lata Venkatesh is joining us now with us to explain the significance of this move. Lata.
Well, the important part is that 50% of the gold is still held abroad. There were 500 tons abroad and about 300 tons held in India. With the 100 tons coming in, it becomes 50-50. Now, the fear among market participants, or at least the speculation was that with the US de-recognizing Russia's reserves, FX reserves, not gold, FX reserves, probably countries don't want to keep their gold outside, they want to bring it back. But sources from the Reserve Bank tell us that that was not the calculation. The point was, why should the gold lie outside? They want to keep a small percentage which is used for gold swaps or, for some trading purposes. But all of it need not be left abroad. And that was the reason why some of it has come. When we try to check out whether, there would be a minimum percentage of maybe 20 or 25% that's kept abroad and the rest brought back, I didn't get a number. But clearly the indication is that more gold is going to be transported back. Now for some trivia. Why did gold go abroad? The first time gold went abroad from India was during the 1991 crisis. The IMF payments could have been delayed, and to give comfort to the IMF and global investors, India shipped the gold. At that time, 65 tons was shipped. That was the first time gold from India was held abroad. After that, whenever India purchased gold, it just kept it abroad. I mean, it just made it easier in case one wanted to sell. It was kept closer to the global financial markets, especially in London. And the big chunk was when IMF sold gold in 2009. 200 tons was purchased by India. That, again, was maintained in foreign vaults. But as RBI sources indicated to us, some of it is going to be shipped back, and they may not hold as much as 50% abroad. Finally, no financial implications. It's not as if the GDP changes or tax collections change or the RBI's own balance sheet changes, because this is just the place of holding that has changed, not the amount of gold. So no change to the RBI's balance sheet and no taxes. You don't pay customs. It's after all our own gold that's coming back, nor is there any GST implications.
Right, Lata, thanks a lot for that. Now, CNBC TV18's Future Female Forward campaign made its way to the IT capital, Bengaluru, today. Women leaders from diverse professions came together to speak about breaking barriers and bridging the gender gap. Anisha Padukone, who is the CEO of Live, Love, Laugh Foundation, shared her family's experience in dealing with Deepika Padukone's battle with depression. Meanwhile, former IPS officer Miran Borwankar detailed her journey of standing up to authorities in the Bilkis Bano case in order to do the right thing. Here's a snippet.
Felt to keep quiet would be criminal. Imagine gang rape, 14 people murdered, mass murder, and the victim's own 3-year-old daughter is murdered in front of her. And the country keeps quiet. And I must give credit to Professor Chokar and Madhu Bahadri madam. They brought it up and we engaged Vrinda Grover. We really thought it's criminal if we keep quiet.
At that time, mental illness wasn't talked about the way it is today. This was in, say, 2013, 2014, so almost 10 years back. And therefore, the stigma was much higher than it is today. The realization that, A, you think you know enough about mental health, unless it actually either hits you or someone around you. I think that realization was key and critical to be able to read up a little bit more, to speak to the mental health professionals and understand what the role of a caregiver should be or can be like.
Well, with that, it's time now for a short break. But coming up next, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation has issued a show-cause notice to Air India. This comes after an Air India flight from Delhi to San Francisco was delayed by more than 24 hours. Welcome back. Now, grand road shows, aggressive and vitriolic speeches, and a 44-day polling cycle in searing heat. It will be curtains down on election season tomorrow after polling for 57 Lok Sabha seats across 7 states and 1 union territory concludes. Results will be out on June 4th. Varanasi, from where Prime Minister is contesting, is one of the 13 seats in Uttar Pradesh where voting will take place. The opposition bloc has fielded Congress's Ajay Rai from this seat. The Prime Minister flew to Kanyakumari last evening for a 45-hour spiritual retreat at the Vivekananda Rock Memorial. Meanwhile, 9 seats in West Bengal, All TMC bastions will go to elections as well. This includes the seat in and around Kolkata. All 13 seats in Punjab in what promises to be a four-way contest between the Congress, Aam Aadmi Party, Shiromani Akali Dal and BJP go to polls. The Congress had won 8 seats out of 13 in the state in 2019. The Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress are a part of the India opposition bloc but are contesting against each other on all 13 seats. Polling will also take place in Chandigarh, the sole union territory in this phase. Voting will also take place for 8 seats in Bihar, 3 seats in Jharkhand and all 4 seats in Himachal and 6 Lok Sabha seats in Odisha. 42 assembly constituencies in Odisha go to elections as well. Exit polls will be released tomorrow evening after the voting concludes. Well, Delhi Chief Minister, meanwhile, Arvind Kejriwal has said that he will surrender to Tihar jail authorities on June 2nd. Kejriwal was granted an interim bail in the liquor policy case for 21 days till June 1st, a campaign for the Lok Sabha elections. In a press conference today, Kejriwal said that he will ensure that Delhi government's work does not stop. He also said that he doesn't know how long he'll be in jail, but his spirits are higher than earlier. Kejriwal sought an extension of his interim bail on medical grounds.
मैं बेशक आपके बीच नहीं होऊंगा, लेकिन आप चिंता मत करना, आपके सारे काम चलते रहेंगे। मैं चाहे जहां रहूं, अंदर रहूं, बाहर रहूं, दिल्ली के काम नहीं रुकने दूंगा। आपकी फ्री बिजली, मोहल्ला क्लिनिक, अस्पताल, फ्री दवाइयाँ, इलाज, महिलाओं के लिए फ्री बस यात्रा, 24 घंटे बिजली और भी सारे काम चलते रहेंगे। और लौट के हर माँ बहन को हर महीने 1000 रुपये देने की भी शुरुआत करूँगा। आप अपना ख्याल रखना, मुझे जेल में आपकी बहुत चिंता रहती है। आप खुश रहेंगे तो आपका केजरीवाल भी खुश रहेगा।
Now, rape-accused JDS MP Prajwal Revana was sent to police custody till June 6th. An all-women team of the Karnataka police arrested Prajwal at the Bengaluru airport as he landed from Munich. He has been accused of serial sex abuse and had fled the country more than a month ago. And Mumbai's Central Railway line was disrupted this morning after a 63-hour block came into effect. Commuters complained of delays of up to 30 minutes. Packed local trains and overcrowding at major stations due to the block scheduled for widening platforms at Thane and CST stations. 930 suburban and 73 outstation trains have been cancelled and will resume operations on the 2nd of June. Well, from railways to aviation, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation has issued a show-cause notice to Air India citing violation of aviation regulations. This comes after an Air India flight from Delhi to San Francisco was delayed by more than 24 hours and passengers had to endure inadequate cooling in the cabin. Sources have told CNBC TV 18 that the flight was delayed due to operational reasons. The passengers alleged that the AC was not functional and they had to wait inside for the aircraft for hours.
I stay in San Francisco and I'm going back. I mean, this is a very, very pathetic situation and all. I can't say anything. There are so many elderly people here and like the kids and all, they are suffering like anything from yesterday.
Being delayed till 5 and there is no lunch, no water. I think there is nobody who can take decision and communicate clearly to passengers what's happening, when we are going to fly.
They got us boarded the plane, which was stranded, which was technically faulted. The AC was not working for full 2 hours. The AC was not working. It was like only fan blowing very hot air. As a result of which several people, they were on the verge of collapsing.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you so much for watching. News and updates will continue right here on CNBC TV 18.